consciente, ser más con compasión y también ser responsable para ti mismo, para su cuerpo y también para su alma, y no dejar energía negativa en tu espacio, en tu cuerpo. Y también eso ayuda a todo el mundo, porque mucha tierra está gastado para, no solamente para los animales se quedan, pero también para crecer la alimentación para las vacas. Y también en los mares, no solamente es un pez, es todo el mar, el ecosistema está cambiando porque estamos matando tiburones, y cuando una especie desaparece, afecta todo el sistema. Entonces es ser responsable y vibra más alta para ti mismo y para los otros también. ¿Me entiendes?
Sí, muy bien.
Y ahora hay preguntas para Enrique a los hombres. ¿Preguntas, dudas? ¿Alguien? Tenemos un video, pero primero sí, el tiempo y escucharlos. Y ahora tenemos un video, está corto, como 10 minutos. Gracias.
Bravo, Melissa.
The soy milk that I drink has the same amount of calcium and vitamin D than in a cow milk, but the cow milk comes along with those hormones and the antibiotics and the steroids, and it's just, there's no reason for us to consume milk. So yes, there's a wall of milks now at the local health food store, or any store now.
Well, I wrote a cookbook about how you can make your own plant-based cheese alternatives in your own home, and became very, very popular. But people kept asking me, it's sort of a hassle, because this was the first cookbook that came out about how to culture your own cheeses. It's not something you go into your kitchen and 15 minutes later you got a cheese. You have to wait 2 or 3 days before the first step is done, and then you have to do something else, and then wait another week or so. And these were even shortcuts, because if I had written a book that said you have to wait 6 months, nobody would have bought it. So, but even then, the most important ingredient in that book was patience, which most people do not have. So people kept asking me, can't you just make the cheese and sell it to us? So eventually I found people that were interested in investing in a company like this, and a business partner, and so we started this company.
Milk is just a few proteins and fats. There's no living cells in it. So if you can just produce those proteins and fats without a cow, then you've produced milk without a cow. So all they have to do is really isolate those proteins and make them. So they'll be on the market in a couple years.
So this is the casein that we've taken from the yeast, and basically we took there. So we basically took the gene in the cow that from a cow's cell that specifies how to make casein, and we put that into a plasmid, and we put that into the yeast, and then the yeast started making the casein for us. It shows that there's another way of producing food that you might not think of compared to having to raise animals. You can actually produce it a similar way as you produce beer, in a way that you use yeast to produce the protein that you need.
Definitely. So we're all about democratizing these sciences, right? Especially biology. That's really going to be the technology for the 21st century. We need to make sure that the average person in the street actually knows what's involved and what are the risks and what are the dangers and which parts you should not be worried about.
This isn't a milk alternative. This is just milk. So you should be able to use it to make to make yogurt and cheese and everything else that you normally make out of milk, without any, new ingredients. So it's not like right now a lot of vegan cheeses are made with nuts. which is a problem for people with nut allergies, I suppose. And they're not quite exactly the same. There's some textural differences, there's some flavor differences, and I think any vegan would probably say that they miss eating cheese. So what we really want to do is produce that vegan cheese that's completely the same as cow's milk cheese, except it just had nothing to do with the cow.
Because cheese is so dense in the saturated fat and those chemicals that really are addictive. It's so addictive. And if you ask anyone, that was the hardest thing for me to get off of. And it's like a drug, because it has that opioid effect, right? And they call it the casomorphines and all that. And I remember when I was trying to transfer over a few years ago and I got soy cheese. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna have soy cheese, I'm gonna be off the dairy. And I remember every day I would have a little bit more. I'm like, oh, this is really good. And I finally read the label and there's casein in it. Of course I was addicted to it because it still had casein. So when I finally got off of the cheese, and then one day I was at the market and they had these little samples with these tofu in it. So I had to buy it, was really good. So I went for another one on the other side of the platter and I had to spit it out because it was slimy and it was disgusting. It was cheese. There was the other one. There was tofu ones and there was cheese ones. And I was like, wow, my taste buds adapted so much that now it grosses me out. So it's like this tongue washing, this taste bud washing that occurs from eating cheese, and it is so addictive. And the food industry is brilliant at marketing that we need cheese, and they fuel that addiction with powerful marketing.
We took pre-orders, and that very first weekend, we had over 500 individual orders. So we had so much buzz that we had already sold everything we had made, because we age our cheeses. We took pre-orders so we would know how much cheese to make, and we were beyond capacity by that first weekend, basically. And the orders just kept coming in, day after day. So we grew from, in just 3 months, from 3 employees to about 20. And we're just cranking them out. We're now distributing throughout Northern California and Australia. So in a couple of years, what we want to do is branch out into the everyday cheese line. So right now we're making sort of artisanal cheeses because I really wanted to produce cheeses that you'd be proud to serve on a cheese platter to anybody. But in a couple of years, what we want to do is do a lower priced everyday cheese that still has the high quality that we are being known for.